Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room. Then and now, I'm Greg Chris, along with Dr. Frank Fear, and it is an exciting time to be here. It's good to be back, Frank. I said, sick or not, I wouldn't have missed this one. Special show tonight with some really special guests. So I had to get well for this one.
Well, we missed you, Greg. It's great to have you back. Mickey, by the way, is doing fine, but he's going to sit this one out. We'll have him back next week, I'm sure. And we got a lot of football to talk about, but later, because we have two incredibly good guests. And can I say something first about these guys? You know, they're both in the WVU Hall of Fame because of what they did, and I'll go over the stats in a second. But talking about Hall of Fame, if you haven't seen Jerry West, the Logo, the documentary that's on Prime, strongly recommend it. Talk about a Hall of Famer, really the Mr. WVU, but also the logo of the NBA. And I'll stop with this. The thing is, it's not just about Jerry West, basketball player, or Jerry West, GM. It is. Kenya Barris did a great job with that. He's the producer. But Jerry he just lays his entire life out, and it's mesmerizing. He had a tough go when he was growing up, and he talks about that and all the ups and downs, getting beaten by Boston when he was a player, and then the successes he had and the intensity he had. I tell you, it is just the hour or so goes by very quickly. Jerry West, the Logo. Even if you don't subscribe, if you can just pay a few bucks if you can afford it, to rent it, it's well worth it.
Yeah, sure is. Yeah, and you know, when you look at legends and talk about WVU, I grew up and I tease Darryl all the time that I was in elementary school watching him play. But yeah, I remember, Coach Catlett and the program was, it was such a program that you knew we were going to be good. Just didn't know how good, and how far we were going to go. It was just a good, solid program. And, I don't know if we'll ever see days like that again where you had, a football coach and basketball coach at these major university so successful and such longevity. I don't know that we'll see that happen ever again. And, it was just it was kind of comforting in a way that you knew who your coach was going to be. You knew who your players were going to be. And it is such a thrill to get a chance to talk to Coach Catlett and to Darryl. Darryl asked me if when I coached, I spent 28 years coaching high school here in Fayette County, and if I had any players that Coach recruited, and I didn't. I wasn't the head coach then, but there were some here that they did recruit, and some pretty daggone good ones. And my son went to Oak Hill, and I'm sure Coach Catlett will remember the Oak Hill guys that he had. And we had another local, Steve Berger, that played up there. And I had to the privilege of coaching Earl Jones's daughter. I had some Jones boys at Mount Hope when I coached there that probably could have played, but they couldn't stay out of trouble long enough to stay on the team. So I didn't have any recruits make it to WVU. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun, and really looking forward to it. And Frank, if it's okay with you, I say we go ahead and bring these guys in.
Yep, let's do it.
Coach Catlett, as everyone knows, a long career at WVU, and over 30 years, around 30 years, somewhere in that range. And then Darryl was one of his players, a very special story. And you've written the book about Darryl. I think you and Darryl together, and what a fine book it is. I've been reading it about halfway through it, and learning a lot of things I never knew, a lot of interesting things that I never knew. And I would recommend that people go out and check that book out. And I'm sure you will be able to show it here in just a minute for people to get a copy of it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in, I don't know, we're going to bring in both of them at the same time and then talk to them off screen. How are we going to do this, Frank?
One at a time. So we better let's bring in Coach first.
Yeah, let's get Coach Catlett in here first. There he is, the man, the legend himself.
Yes, I'm with you. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Well, you're probably better off for that.
Now I can see you.
We can see we can see you.
Yeah, we see you fine. Yeah, in fact, I was going to say, Dak, you look younger than I do.
Oh my!
You might be younger than me. I'm not
Can we
sure.
do this show every week? For sure.
Coach, we really can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking some time to be with us. I know, people everywhere love hearing from you, and we don't get to hear enough from you. We understand that, and I know people are excited to hear from you, and this is an exciting time for me and Frank as well. Just want to let you have the floor. I don't want to do the talking. I want you to have the floor. Just talk about when you played at WVU, then what happened after that, as far as your coaching career and that sort of thing, and then how it all evolved at West Virginia.
I think the first thing I would say to you is that it's been 20 years plus that I've never done a podcast before. This is
You're doing great.
And also I turned down a Bo Camper in Lauderdale. He tried to get me on the famous Dolphin guy downtown, and he did everything he could, but I wasn't comfortable. They did it in some bar kind of thing, and most of the people were football guys, even though Bo Camper is a well-rounded guy and was a great player with the Dolphins. But Darryl Prue is what I'm saying now. So, Coach, I want you to be on the show. So how can you can't turn Prue down because
that's right.
one of your best players ever, but more importantly, a dear friend and a better person, if possible, than he was a player, and he was a great player. So yes. It's nice to be with you guys.
Yep, Darryl's been a good friend of our show throughout, and was with us for a long time doing the basketball part of it, because he obviously knows more about basketball than any of really Frank and I do. That's for daggone sure. So anyway, how about when you were at WVU as a player, you graduated WVU? Yeah. Tell us. He may be having a hard time hearing. Let's wait just a second. Can you hear me okay now?
No, I can't hear.
Can't hear? We'll give you a second.
Connection problem. Can you hear me?
We sure can.
Yep, loud and clear. Loud and clear. I don't know if you can hear us or not.
Tell him I'm here. No, you can't. Try
okay.
It now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Wow. Whatever you did.
Worked, huh?
It's a little bit loud, Kara.
Well, now.
That's not.
I'm sorry, I'm trying here.
Can you hear now when I talk normally?
Yeah.
Is that good?
We're fine.
Too loud.
Yeah, we hear you well.
I'm a little bit disappointed in Frank because as well, he did a great job writing that book for Prue, but he talked about me coming here as a coach. He never talked about my playing days very much.
Yeah.
I want to go back and say,
even the article I read while I was doing research, even the article I read, it talked about your playing days in maybe a paragraph, and then it said where he excelled was in the coaching ranks, and then it was 6 pages after that. So
that's right.
I was in Hawaii on vacation, which we used to spend almost every winter part of it there. My wife Annis and I did, and I get a phone call from the Hall of Fame committee, Donnie Young. Remember Coach Young? Oh, yeah. Great human being. And he said, Coach, I just want to be the first to inform you that you're going to be put into the Hall of Fame at WVU this fall. And I said, that's great, Donnie. I said, as a player or as a coach? He said, we better change the subject. Because I was lobbying to be a player, and I don't think he not respected, but knew about my playing career more as a coach.
Yeah.
Well, you have to explain that. You had some dogs around you that were awfully good, and you just took care of them. You made them great. That's what
one of the best recollections I haven't talked about much is that when Annis and I got married, Rod Thorne was the best man in our wedding. But Rod Thorne and I were roommates for 2 years at WVU. And I look back through my career, and even though I haven't said this to his face, that was 2 of the most fun years that I had. Rod was a great player, a great human being, and of course I went on and had an illustrious career in the NBA, and then as president and general manager of the New Jersey Nets, and then the 76ers, and now he's retired in Naples. But at the same time, it was sure fun being around someone like that. But we had some great teams, and the trouble is we were always compared to Jerry West teams. and we never could quite get up to that level, because when West was here, I mean, he was just such a phenomenal player. But also, once again, Jerry was a kind of a quiet guy. He didn't talk much, and kind of withdrawn a little bit. But at the same time, when he walked on the court, he didn't have to talk. His playing did the talking, and he was one of the best ever to bounce the ball, of course, and enjoyed being here. I was here my freshman year. We had freshman ball back then, Frank. You didn't play on the varsity. So we had freshman ball, and there were 6 or 7 of us. I was trying to think, almost all from West Virginia that came in as freshmen. Our leading scorer was Paul Popovich. Paul Popovich was not only a great basketball player from Flemington, he was a great baseball player, and after 2 years, signed out of WVU with the Chicago Cubs and played, of course, in Major League Baseball. But at the same time, we had Kenny Ward and Ed Bodie and some of the other guys. Well, then we go into our sophomore season, and that's the team that went to the Final Four and got beat by California by 1 point in 1959. I was on the team as a sophomore, but went home at Thanksgiving for a 3-day weekend, I should say. And I get there, and I'm playing a pickup game and trying to show off and dunk the ball with some of my high school teammates. And I hit the ball on the edge of the rim and threw me out, and I fell and broke my wrist.
Wow.
So then I went to the hospital, but I had to come back, and I had to go in Monday morning and face Fred Schaus. And I was already scared to death of him because I was just a rookie. But I went in, and he said, "What did you do?" I told him I broke my wrist. So they redshirted me a year. I practiced and was on the team, but the team that went to the Final Four, I didn't. I went to the Final Four, but not on the team. You weren't allowed to. So, and then the next year, of course, it helped me because it gave me 3 more years of eligibility and kicked me into Thorne's class, because I'm a year and a half. Don't tell anybody, Prue. I'm a year and a half older than Thorne and a year and a half younger than West. So somewhere in between. But and then we remiss we didn't put one of my favorite Mountaineers ever to play, Hot Rod Hundley. He was such a character and such a great guy to all of us young kids coming in. But I've had the pleasure to be here with those kind of people. And, of course, everybody knows Fred Schaus's background with the Lakers and then back at Purdue, but also came back and was my boss for the last 8 or 9 years as athletic director here at WVU, and did a magnificent job with Coach Nealon in football and myself in basketball. During the 80s, from 80 to 90, Frank, I think we talked about this, we're the only major college team that kept the same football coach and the same basketball coach. And then Coach Nealon and I stayed from 90 to 2000. So we were here 20 years, and then Coach Nealon retired at 2000. I retired in 2002. But I don't know if those records will ever be done again, because nowadays, you know, I saw the Los Angeles Lakers were sold today. Did you see that?
Yes.
They were sold today. Guy paid $10 billion for them 2 years ago and sold them for $12 billion today. So I think we should be looking at buying a pro team, if you will. But anyhow, it was a great chance to play here and meet some wonderful people. And then you got guys like Prue coming along he's like a son to me. I love him to death, and he's never done anything wrong in his life as far as I'm concerned. And was a great player and led the team. And it was just those years I look back at, and they just were just so phenomenal. And I really appreciate everything that's going on.
You mentioned that coaching longevity. They pay the coaches now more to quit, and they did you guys to coach, so they can quit and you take a nice package home with them. Why would they stay?
we could spend all day on that, but what you didn't know, Greg, is that I was coaching the head coach. I went to Kansas as assistant coach. Then I went to Kentucky. Coach Rupp asked me to go to Kentucky as assistant coach, so I did, obviously. Well, Coach Rupp got me at the Cincinnati job. And I was coaching there 2 years, and I get a phone call from Red Brown and Liebenberg, because they were going to hire a new basketball coach after 2 years. And I turned it down because he didn't have a long-term contract. I had a long-term contract, but West Virginia's rule was year to year. So I turned it down. Well, 4 years later, they're going to hire a basketball coach again. And this time they called, and I said, no, I'm not interested. They said, well, just a minute. We want you to talk to Lysander Dudley, who's in charge of the WVU Foundation. And he gets on. I'd known Lysander. He got on and said, Coach, we're going to offer you a 4-year guaranteed contract, the first one in the history of the school. It's a rollover contract. Every year it rolls over. If you do a good job, if you don't, you've already got 3 more years to have a good year. But so I said, well, based on that, I'll talk to my wife, but I'll interview with you. And then I went for the interview, and everything went well. But took the job, and actually, when I took the job, I didn't know for sure how long I was going to coach. I said, I'm going to coach 4 to 6 years, and I'm going to go to Florida and be a junior high golf coach or something and retire. And I didn't know we were going to do 24 years later, coach there. And then, of course, Coach Needham was in for 22 years. But we had a great time, great era, and loved. Both of us still live in Morgantown. I'm here most of the year until it gets cold. Then I go where it's warm. But sure appreciate all the favors and all the stuff that happened to me because of WVU basketball.
You again talk about that longevity. Do you have any, looking back at my memories as a younger guy watching, it was the heyday of the Atlantic 10. People don't realize, I think, what a great conference that was at the time, because we went to the Big East afterwards. And they knew that, but the Atlantic 10 was a heck of a basketball conference. Looking back over your time, any particular season or games stand out from those those special times, that era?
Well, when I came here as a player, I didn't know much about Pitt. I lived in Hedgesville, and we got all the Washington D.C. stations, Pro TV, WMAL, WTOP. All around town for all around service. Visit your hammer, come in. Hail to the Redskins, fight for victory. I didn't know about the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Pittsburgh TV stations. So therefore, at that point, I had to learn about Pitt. But when I came here, Pitt was a hated rivalry, just like it is today. Well, I didn't know much about Pitt, but we had to, in the Atlantic 10 for those years, John Chaney was coaching at Temple and doing a magnificent job and was a great coach. We always ended up battling Chaney and Temple, it seemed like. But there were, John Calipari was in that league. They had a bunch of great coaches go through that. And so at the time, Penn State had a good program before Dick Harder. And we had St. Joe and all those other schools, just like the Atlantic 10 was our biggest competition was not the SEC or the ACC, or it was always the Big East. So at the time, who's better? And of course, the Big East had for about 25 years tremendous teams and great runs to the Final Four, and with all the great Georgetown teams, Connecticut, all those teams. But we never quite got to that level in terms of where they were. But at the same time, we played a bunch of those schools, and also the Atlantic 10 was very competitive. But that's why Prue can tell you a little bit. Prue was going to Georgetown. I don't know why he wanted to go to Georgetown, but he was going to go to Georgetown till we got him straightened out. Coach McPherson went over, started talking to him, and then ironically, we get Prue to come here. Prue was first team All-Met in D.C., and at the time, in my opinion, Washington, D.C., maybe New York City, maybe I guess you could go to California, but Washington, D.C. played as good a basketball in high school as anybody. And they had Virginia and Maryland there. And Prue was first team All-Met there. The first team, second team, they major college scholarships all the time because the guys were so good. The competition was terrific, and Prue was a standout guy. And then I glanced at your book this afternoon, Prue, with Bonzie Colson and all the guys you played with. It was really a phenomenal career there. But I can tell you one thing, he made 4 years for me coaching here a lot easier than it would have been without him. I can tell you
that. That's great. Wow.
Why did you come here, Prue?
Let's get Prue in here.
Prue, can you hear me?
Yeah, you hear me? I hear you well, Coach. I heard everything.
Yeah. Why don't Darren? Why don't you take me off and put Coach back up, and these two guys can talk with each other. Okay. Well, you know what I'm going to do? Let me. It's great. It's a great pleasure to have you guys here. But for the audience who may not know this, and you guys know it because I researched it. I didn't know it until I put it in the book. Let's start with Coach Catlett, then go on to Darryl. Just think about all these records. 439 wins at WVU. That's 720 games at WVU as a head coach. That's a record. 24 seasons at WVU as a head coach. That's a record. 15 postseason appearances, 8 in the NCAA. There's only Huggins is the only one who had more NCAA appearances, 11. Gale had 7 top 25 finishes, but anybody who has read the book know that I made a big deal out of the next thing, and that is WVU has a history of a number of long winning streaks, 18 different times, at least 10. Well, Coach Catlett had 5 of those 18. Freddie Schaus had 6 of those 10-plus winning streaks. That's 11. And the thing that struck to me is the 2 longest streaks are Gale Catlett's, 22 in 88-89 with Darryl, and 23 on the 81-82. What a hell of a pedigree. And then you go to Darryl, and it's in the book too. WVU's been playing basketball for 102 years. Darryl Prue is in the top 20 in about 15 different categories. Number 2 in field goal percentage all time, number 4 all time in steals, number 6 all time in minutes, number 11 in all time rebounds, number 14 in all time blocks, number 16 in games played, number 16 in the number of 10-point games, number 17 in doubles of all time, number 20 in scoring. I mean, Greg, it's not possible to get 2 people associated with WVU athletics.
I was going to say, add one more
pedigree
there, Frank. One more added to it. Smoothest left-handed J you ever seen in your life.
Yeah, that's right.
Number 1
that's
right there.
Yeah.
Left-handed, of all things. Left-handed Prue.
Yeah. So to answer Coach's question about me coming to West Virginia,
Darryl, just 1 second. Just 1 second now. He didn't mention free throws in there, did he?
No.
Okay,
Coach,
we'll go a different way.
I couldn't be good at everything. You know what I mean? I couldn't be good at everything. I had to have one flaw.
Well, fouls too, but that's okay.
Sorry, Darryl. No. Keep your thought. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna answer that last one because when I was coaching at Georgetown, I forgot the athletic director. It might have been the sports information director came up to me, and we was playing West Virginia, and she told me, I think it was Shelley Poe. She was like, "Yeah." I didn't know at the time. She was like, "Yeah, Mike Gans is about to beat your record for minutes played ever." And
wow.
Yeah. So I was like, "Wow." Then I looked in the book. I have the most fouls ever, and one time I had the most minutes ever. And so like what coach plays you when you have all those fouls? Coach County played me no matter what. I don't care how many fouls I had. He kept me in the game. So So like again, I had my one flaw. It was the free throw shooting. So to get to West Virginia was a winding road. My junior year, we were number 1 in the country, and we were playing a lot of games. Like we had a lot of talent on my high school team, and I think
Dunbar High, yeah.
Yep, Dunbar High in DC, in Washington D.C., not Baltimore. When Frank started the book, he realized there was 2 different Dunbars that were so close to each other that were really good. Then come to find out, there was a few around the country. Dunbar was a Dunbar in Texas. There was a Dunbar in Ohio that was really good. I remember one time all of us was ranked in the top 20 in USA Today. So that's a little history on Dunbar.
Cyrus Jones from Dunbar in Baltimore came here,
exactly.
Did a great job, and then his son went on to be one of the great defensive backs in the NFL. Remember that?
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah. So we, the situation happened. I got the relationship with Coach McPherson because he, during that run, he came to about, it seemed like 10 games. He was always there.
Every game.
He was there.
He told me every game.
Every home game he seemed to be there.
Yeah.
And I remember one game vividly. We played Anacostia High School. We had beat them earlier, and it was a ruckus. So they hit a free throw to go up a point. They missed the second free throw. I get the rebound. I gave it to my point guard, Darryl McLean. I sprint down court. Darryl gets trapped. He throws a full court pass to me. I put my hands up to catch it. The Anacostia player jumps in front of me, steals the ball. His name was Lyndon Pickett. He steals the ball.
Wow.
But he comes down like this. And I was taught to poke at the ball. I poked it out of his hands, grabbed it, laid it up, no time on the clock. And we ended up beating him. A fight breaks out behind the bench over there with Anacostia, the fans, and all kind of stuff going on. So they put a second or two back on the clock. They didn't score. They rushed us out. They was grabbing us to go out. And by the time I got to the locker room, Gary McPherson was in our locker room in the coach's office. I was like, how did he get in here so fast? You know what I mean? Like,
Pretty smart guy.
Yeah. He got in there and always had a smile on his face. He was recruiting Sean Alvarado, who ended up at Kansas.
I remember that.
Yeah, she was recruiting Sean Alvarado. Then when all the stuff that happened at Georgetown, it didn't work out, he calls back. And it was, it came down to UNLV and West Virginia. And Coach's brother they developed a relationship with my grandfather, James Wallace.
The sheriff.
Yeah. So they developed a great relationship. So, when it was
Mr. Wallace, yes,
James Wallace,
great guy. Worked at Howard University, right?
Yeah, went to Howard University. He was a social worker there also. So he made a comment. He said, I can't come see you play at UNLV. That's a long trip. I can come see you play in West Virginia. So then they sent Coach Ford to come get me on a visit. They sent Coach Ford. He talked to me the whole time. I probably said 5 words in 3.5, 4 hours.
Darryl, in my coaching career at WVU, I don't know if anyone was more, outside of my staff, was more instrumental in WVU athletics through the years than Garrett Ford. I know he was a great player. I saw him play on the tape, but what he did academically with the student athletes and blazing a trail here, that man, they needed a statue of Garrett Ford outside somewhere because he touched so many lives.
Yes.
Because he had all the sports at that time. He didn't have a lot of help. But he was an academic advisor for the athletic program for those years. And you bring it up, excuse me for breaking your thought, but Coach Ford was one of a kind and saved a lot of people's lives. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're 100% correct. That's not you don't have to be sorry for that because Coach Ford, he's undefeated. He never lost a game.
Right.
So you know what I mean. He should have a statue somewhere.
He got messed up though because he went to DeMatha. Coach Ford went to DeMatha, and he talked me into stuff about Morgan Wooten and DeMatha and did stuff, and Coach Ford he'd come in and say, "I told you, DC basketball is the best in the country, and they beat the team out of New York. They beat Alcindor." Amazing. Yeah. He was always promoting
DC
basketball in the DC area.
Yeah. I remember one time, and we had to do our schedules. And he had a little small office. He already had 6 people in there trying to do their schedule. I walk in. He said, got to stop. Best player ever is here. Washington, D.C. and they would the football players would get mad. Oh man, he was hilarious. He's always in a light mood. He's always there. He was always there to lift everybody up. He was the go-between if it was issues. I went to his memorial in April, and to hear all the different sports. I just thought it was football and basketball. I forgot about the other sports that he dealt with. And there were so many different sports, and people came back to see him. I think all the 80s, I think all the football players from the 80s came back to see him, to his memorial. And
and his son, Garrett Ford Jr., was a pretty good player here, too, and did a great job. And then you had his sister, Tracy. She was a great, beautiful gal, lovely gal. And then Thelma held everybody together. Thelma, his wife, she was such a sweetheart. When we coaches get off on the deep end, she kind of kept Coach Ford in line. That's the only person he would really listen to, but she had commanded that.
Yeah, well,
great family.
The grandson played too football.
That's now that you bring it up,
Tracy's son. Yeah, so it was a nice lineage, but he was key to everybody.
Did you hear what I said earlier? I don't know of anyone in my coaching career for 24 years at WVU that helped me in the basketball program more than Garrett Ford. We couldn't have made it without him. I mean, that's just right from my heart and a fact, and we can go into that. But it was, and he loved basketball. He always told me, well, he's going down to the noontime game to play some basketball. I said, Darryl, Coach Ford, you can't get into. I asked Drew about him, my nephew. I said, what? He said he knocks everybody down. He said, no wonder. He said he doesn't know how to play. He said he's just a roughhouse. Coach Ford. He wouldn't play you one-on-one. He kept talking about he's going to beat you one-on-one.
Coach, I watched him play. We'd have been fighting, Coach. I saw those lunchtime games, and he would knock you down, knock your teeth, break your nose, and pick you up at the same time. Talk about sorry, because how soft spoken he was. He was the old 50s and 60s kind of basketball player. Yeah. He was all about physicality and helping you up at the same time. So you couldn't be mad at him because you knew it was coming.
Okay, Frank, we went off course a little bit. Went off course a little bit there, but
yeah. Well, I mean, this to me, Greg and I are just enjoying this. It's just pure theater, and we really appreciate it because, and we got to be practical about this, and it's the reason we do the show. Is a lot of fans are focusing on what's coming next. Right now, obviously, it's all about the football team. It'll be about the basketball team after that, and then baseball. But I'll tell you what, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and you two guys really, really helped develop that reputation, sustain it for a long period of time. And my wife Kathy and I were at West Virginia. We went to the first game with the Coliseum. We were there for the first game, and so it wasn't anywhere near what you brought it to be, Coach, when you joined from Cincinnati. And and I think what people need to know, and I try to emphasize this in the book, is that, you were committed to the integration of college basketball. Darryl was the first major player from a metro area to come. In the same year, Ron Brown, the first African-American assistant coach at West Virginia, you hired. And when I think about Chris Brooks and Darryl Prue, along with Stevie Berger and Herbie Brooks on the court together, just to speak of those guys, you say, what a hell of a team. Coach, talk about that particularly the 80-89 team, because it really
Frank, you forgot about Dale Blaney.
My God, yeah.
Dale was a country boy. He wasn't a city kid.
He was. And drafted by the Lakers, going to make the team, got homesick, called Jerry West called me, who was then president of the Lakers, and he said, Gale, can you talk to Darryl for us? To Blaney for us. I said, what do you mean, talk to him? He said, well, he's going to make the team. He said, Magic Johnson loves him because he passes to him a lot. But he said, Magic Johnson loves him, and he said he's going to make the team. But he tells me he's homesick. He doesn't like the lifestyle where we're living, what we're doing. He's going to fly back on the red eye to Cleveland this weekend. Can you talk to him? And so I did. And I said, now, Darryl, you can't come in here 2 weeks from now. This is, once they cut you and you leave. Well, he came on. And 10 days later, Darryl calls me back. He said, Coach, Dale calls me back. He said, can you help me? And I said, sure. He said, can you call Jerry West? And I said, no. He said, what? I said, I told you 2 weeks ago what's going to happen, but I said, I'll try it. But Jerry said it was already set. But then while he was playing here, his brother Dave became a NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
And then they come along, and their dad was a great guy and racing up in Sharon, Pennsylvania, NASCAR and all the stock cars. And then here comes Ryan Blaney along. He was NASCAR driver of the year last year in the United States. And so, but Dale, tell him about his playing days, Prue.
No, I loved him, man. He could shoot it. He could jump. He's very unselfish. He was one of the best players I ever played with. And, you never heard of him before, but I remember I was talking to somebody a couple of years ago in Europe, and he played with St. John's College when we played St. John's my freshman year. And all he talked about was Dale Blaney. He remembered Dale Blaney from 1985, 86.
Right.
Yeah, and said how great of a player he was. I think Dale had like 25 that game. And he had 25 with no three-point line. Imagine if he played with that three-point line, he'd probably scored 2,000, 2,500 points.
No question, yeah. No doubt, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let me say this. We talked about Coach, and Coach has always been giving my praise, and I'm going to give him his right now. I think I mentioned this to you when we was writing the book, Frank. When I was playing there, we didn't have a lot of depth. We didn't have a lot of, we had good players that came off the bench in my senior year, but before then, we had a bunch of guys that didn't really like to play or love the game of basketball. And I think, you compare coaches, you compare Beeline, all of them were good coaches, Beeline, Huggins, and all that stuff. But but they had more depth for guys that love to play the game. We couldn't get 10 guys to play pickup ball, until my senior year. So what you do as a coach, and I've learned this from Coach Catlett and Coach Thompson, the third, is you coach them up. And that's one thing that Coach Catlett did. He coached his players up. He was always ready. I learned from Todd Bozeman to be prepared, and that's what Coach did. He prepared us for the game. So he coached us up and prepared us for the game. Now, all the tactical stuff, we would tear people apart because he knew what he was doing. And that's what, similar to, the Princeton and the John Thompson III. And by doing that, that's why you have all those records of win streaks, because he was prepared. He coached you up. He knew what was going on. We watched film. Coach Haswell was great at breaking down film and developing players. And, he had a great staff. And, innovative, he was before his time because he had, when I came out of high school, I was so called up with an inside player. But I was catching the ball at the three-point line, on the wing, making plays. So he allowed my game to evolve a lot more than some people would. If I probably went to Georgetown, I probably just been playing defense and scoring on the block. But I was able to move around, make plays. I don't think nobody knew I could pass the ball the way I passed the ball. And, I caught the ball very well. So he always put me in situations where, I can help the team. And if you look at our team, that first year, the second year, my sophomore year, my third year.
Okay, we're back. Can you hear me, Prue?
Yeah, we heard. Yeah.
You were blacked up. Go ahead. I hope you didn't say anything.
Yeah, my third year.
Can you go over that thing again about what Coach got, how he could coach us? Can you repeat that for me? No. Let me say one thing, Prue. Wait, hold your thought a second. Well, I was off for about a minute there, but no one's ever asked me this. Who would you rate Coach Catlett if you had to? And boy, it's hard to compare teams. We had 3 teams that had 20-game winning streaks, and they were hard to. I think maybe I'm going to guess the 89 club may have been the best. But who's the best basketball coach in West Virginia University history? There's no doubt who it is, hands down. Fred Schaus. Fred Schaus did it and went to the Final Four, went to the NBA, but had great teams, but also he was a great man to play for. but he played at West Virginia. He's an Ohio boy that came in here and coached the Mountaineers, and then wanted to come back. And then not only did he didn't get enough when he left here and went to the Lakers, and then he went to Purdue. Then he came back in here as athletic director, and of course he died after that. But Fred Schaus influenced a lot of lives and one of the best basketball coaches, not only at WVU, but Red Auerbach is on record of saying that Fred Schaus was if not the best, one of the best he ever coached against, which is because they had a terrible rivalry awful with the Celtics and the Lakers. And unfortunately, Red Auerbach won most of them. But Fred was a great guy. Continue your thought, Prue. I'm sorry.
No, because I remember.
Go back to that part about Coach Catlett, if you don't mind.
I'm gonna come back to you. So I remember.
No.
I remember. I think it was my senior year. We were about to play Maryland, and Bob Wade was the coach. And he was like, he's running high school players. I'm gonna tear this apart. They had 3 NBA, well 4. They had Walt Williams.
Yeah.
They had Gerard Mustaf, 2 first-round draft picks.
Yeah.
They had another big kid, Massenberg, who played with the Spurs.
Tony Massenberg.
Yeah. And we beat them by like 14, 15. And me and Chris are 6'7", 6'6". All those guys are 6'9" and above. You know what I mean? So it was, it was
at Cole Fieldhouse.
Yeah, the Cole Fieldhouse.
At Cole Fieldhouse, yeah.
It wasn't even a close game. And the games against Temple, I respect Temple. I respect the hell out of Coach Chaney. It was a chess match. Yeah. And that's when 2 good coaches are playing, coaching against each other. You know what I mean? So, and Coach Boyle at St. Joe's. It was just
that's right.
It was just you get older, and when you start coaching, you start putting your things together. And man, I was blessed. I had a Jodine Davis, I had a Gale Catlett. I worked under Todd Bozeman. I worked under John Thompson III. I played for Jose Medea in Brazil. So I picked up a lot of gems along the way. And I kind of grouped it onto what I do, and it been kind of successful for me.
Well, you were very deserving, and thank goodness. I also, Frank, you put in the book that I said I ran more plays for Prue than anybody else, calling from the sideline. We actually played a pro style offense. Sometimes a two guard front, but sometimes a 1 guard front. But at the same time, according to what the play was, and then we changed it through the years. But we adjusted our style to the people we had to deal with. Sometimes we had an inside game, sometimes an outside game. We always had a fast break game. We always had a defensive game. But at the same time, it was a thing where Prue, you could get him within. Now, I didn't want Prue shooting 3-pointers. And I didn't tell him that. I told him he could shoot a few. So after he shot 1, I said, Prue, that's enough for this game. But I didn't want him to shoot 3. But inside at 15 feet, we could isolate through some of the high post cuts of the UCLA offense or some of the Tex Winter sideline triangle stuff. We could isolate certain people. And we would isolate Prue, and a lot of times they'd have to switch it. Either put a big guy on him, or sometimes to put a guard on him. And they would swing the ball and go back inside. Of course, they had no chance because Prue could catch the ball. He had great hands, great hand-eye coordination. He could catch the ball. I told the guard, just get it anywhere close. He'll catch it. You can't throw a bad pass to Prue, but he could catch that ball. And then once he got it, look over his shoulder and go the opposite way, or drop step, or face up. Had a lot of things we didn't teach him. He already knew instinctively, and that's what you ended up teaching within the last 5 years. All those big guys, Prue, that you dealt with the Pacers and all the guys you were coaching there. But it sure was fun to have a guy you could just throw the ball to, and he'll make the play happen. So, did a great job, Prue.
I'm mad at you, Coach. I could have had a record. I could have had a triple-double one time. We were playing George Mason, and it was a home game. It was one of the first games of the season. I had 9 steals that game. You told me to stop stealing the ball. And I broke on the ball, Coach, and I could have had it. I stopped because I always listen to the coach.
Yeah. That's why I'm still paying for your dinners when we eat together, too. Listen to me. No, I'll take the check. You ever picked up a check, Prue, when we ate? By the way,
you won't let me. You won't let me.
No, if I let you, my daughter, Prue's biggest fans are my family. They love him like a brother, and if I let you do that, I can tell you what, they would disown me, Prue. For sure.
It's the old NIL money. I'm just getting it back later on. He couldn't do it when I was in school, so he's able to do it now.
I'm sitting here in 2026, and Prue, I have to say to you, I talked to Bill Self a year ago, and we were chatting a little bit, and he had about an injury thing, and then we talked about NIL. And he said, Coach, he said, thank God you're no longer coaching. He said, it is so confusing. He said, there's no set way to do it. And he said, at this point, we don't know where we're going with the leagues. We don't know where we're going with the playoffs, whatever goes. But the NIL is one of the worst things. Not that the players didn't need to be paid. Don't get me. I'm not talking about that. He said one of the worst things is now you talk to you don't. We used to follow you from the 7th grade to the 10th grade, or we'd go to your junior or your varsity games and go talk to your principal. We'd go talk to your high school coach. We'd go talk to your guidance counselor. We did all that in recruiting a player. They do none of that today. As far as I know, they just call up. And the coaches said, well, let me call here's who we want. Just call our NIL guy. And he calls the NIL guy or the agent of the player you're recruiting. And it's like a business deal. It's like a professional game. And I think that the college game has really suffered because of that. And at this point, I'm disappointed that someone hadn't. They've tried to. I see where Congress this past week decided not to vote on the new proposals because they couldn't get half the people to agree. And if they said to me, Coach, you're the commissioner, do what you want to, I wouldn't know where to start. What do you think, Prue, about the players getting paid like this?
I think I was talking about that today. I think they got to put a cap on it. You got to make it equal so nobody just be going to one school because of money. If you give me 100,000, I'm gonna go to this school because it gave me 110. It's not about the relationships no more. It's not about the field,
right.
how playing styles. And then if you don't play well, you don't like it. Now you lose out if you want to go somewhere. So I like the 5-year rule because that was what it was before. I was coaching this year at Alcorn. We played against some teams, and the guys were like 27, 28 years old.
That's right.
I was like, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it used to be a kid's game. Like now guys are coming into college as freshmen, 20, 21 years old. I was 18 when I came in. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, 22, I was out. You know what I mean? So
1 year ago, Prue, they did Frank, you can check this. I don't have facts on this. 1 year ago, they did a survey of the NIL monies to the 4 major conferences, I guess. And 70% of the recruits that get NIL money, it was a major source of income for their family. Shocking.
Yep.
Just shocking. I thought if you said that, well, their parents are wrong, but 70% of the people who get NIL money get that money, and it's a major source of income for their family. And there's got to be some kind of I know they've questioned a lot of people. I saw where Nick Saban and Nick made some pretty good comments and knows what's going on, because this whole thing started in the SEC. It started in the SEC. It all started at Vanderbilt with Roy Kramer, who became the SEC commissioner. He loved March Madness, and he was trying to make the football system and the playoff system at the end of the year like basketball because of the road to the Final Four and how popular it is. And so they started looking at teams dropping out, see how many teams should be in the league. At one time, they were going to have 4 divisions, East, West, North, and South, which wasn't a bad idea. And then they couldn't, and then put 16 teams in each division, so they have a playoff system. And then the Big Ten said, no, we want 18 teams. And then the SEC said, no, we want 20. So, and now they're talking about one league with just the SEC or just the SEC and the Big Ten. It's mind blowing what they're trying to do, and I don't think anyone really has a good idea, Greg, at this point that I know about on how to correct this.
But I think, Bart, you mentioned the legislation not going anywhere. I think part of the problem with that, if you read what the legislation was, there's actually some really good things in it. I know a lot of people don't want the government to get involved in this type of thing, but there were some good things in it. But I think, and Frank can tell you this, part of the reason why that legislation kind of died for now is the SEC and the Big Ten.
Of course,
there's certain things in there that they want. Yeah. And if they can't get those things that they want, they have enough backing and enough power themselves, to get to these Congress folks and let them know that they don't want it. So, I think that's a big problem with it. But Frank and I, we have talked about this ad nauseum on here about we fixed it. We've had it fixed for what, Frank, 8-10 months now. We know what to do. And we just can't get the people that matter to understand what we're trying to tell them. But yeah, I think there definitely has to be some changes. From a fan's perspective, it's tough because you watch our Mountaineer basketball team now. You watched them last year. Well, what are we going to have? 1 or 2 kids that played last year will be playing this year, and that's it. So you got a whole new roster. Same way in football, and it just every year it's the same thing.
And playing the games, where we play our games, West Virginia's at a terrible disadvantage because there's every time you play, you go west, and there are a couple 2 or 3 hour flights all the time. There's just no way. And then if you're in Texas or Oklahoma, it's better for you, or Kansas, and it's just not fair the way it is because the schedule is not very well thought out, and they've got to get that. And football is even worse than basketball with some of the things they're doing and playing for the money.
Yeah, and it just it makes it hard as a fan, to really be vested in it. We live and die by the Mountaineers, and that that if you don't know the players and you don't see some loyalty there, it becomes harder and harder to stay as a big fan because you just don't know who they are, and they leave, and I don't know. It's just a mess right now, and something's got to be done because it has no question it's hurt the game, and definitely the fans are the ones paying the price for that. Frank, your thoughts about the legislation? I want to hear that.
Well, I'll tell you what. What we could do, Darren, if you want to throw up that slide, we can talk about that as a group because. As Greg said, there it is. There's some things there that I don't think are controversial from a fan's perspective. For example, if you look at the transfer limits, number 3, 1 transfer per career must sit out after the transfer, just like the old days. An exception is if your head coach is fired mid-season. That's fair. And then if you look at the health care that the athletes would get, that you would get post-play.
What number is that? What number is that?
That's number 7, that they would get 5 years coverage post-play for sports-related injuries.
Sure.
And number 8, there would be a catastrophic fund, particularly for brain injuries, up to $60 million.
Sure.
But the one that Greg and I have talked about, well, with number 4 is also something fans generally will say thank you. Eligibility is capped at 5 years, as Darryl was talking about, over a 5-year span, 5 and 5. But the number 1, that's the reason, Coach and Darryl and Greg and I were talking about this the other day, why the SEC and the Big Ten agreed to support it. Look what they've done. Right now, you spend $21.3 million from your budget. That goes to support athletes. They want that to double from 21 to 50 million. Well, think about that. Now there's going to be a player retention fund. Nobody would deny that women's and Olympic sports need to be supported. But as well as I, the reason why they wanted it 50 million, how many schools can afford to devote $50 million of their budget just to supporting athletes? I mean, schools like WVU, the entire budget, is around 120 million, is it? And a lot of schools are in the red as it is because they're so heavily subsidized with student fees and with it's great. It's money from their general fund. State schools, the money is coming from their general fund and student fees. So,
Frank, where does it say in there who gets this money? Is it for men only? Is it
No.
for men in football and basketball only?
No,
Is it
it's
or is it? How about the Connecticut women's basketball team? How much do they get at Connecticut when they win the national championship every year?
Well, they leave it to the schools, but all of that money is supposed to be distributed to the athletes. How it gets distributed is another thing altogether.
That's no doubt.
Yeah. And who would be against the Kiffin rule? That's number 5. Head coaches can't abandon their schools while the season is still in play.
Right.
But the other thing that's interesting, Coach, you brought up, look at number 6. No to a super league.
Yes.
This is something that schools are looking at if it goes, because schools are figuring, take North Carolina or Virginia. Hey, if the ACC goes kaput, the Big Ten will be after us, or the SEC. Well, they're saying no league can have 20 members. Only 19 is capped. So what that basically says is, if this gets passed, that the days of schools leaving one conference and trying to go up are over. They're over. Yeah.
What? Who picked the number 19? Why wouldn't it be 16? 19 is a much more 16 is a much more doable situation as far as playoffs and things, but 19 because the Big Ten wanted 19. They wanted the extra revenue. But someone said that North Carolina opens with California, their close rival. They haven't played California ever in football. And then Stanford comes back and plays someone else in the ACC. And then SMU's in the ACC playing. I mean, it doesn't even make sense how they put it together. See, people they've done it, but ESPN is a great situation for college basketball, has been for sports. But the money, the TV contracts and the money has ruined our sport in terms of rivalries, in terms of where you play and how you travel. At one time last year, someone said that Penn State had 3 teams in the state of Arizona for a week. And there wasn't football or basketball or baseball. There was 3 teams of more than 20 participants on each team out in Arizona. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, Greg, your thoughts now that we got that out there? You and I talked about it, but what's your take?
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's some good ideas in this legislation, but the money thing again. You look at the SEC and the Big Ten. It's all about them, that dollar sign. And, it's hard for, say a WVU to compete with that. It's going to be hard for just about anybody to compete with that. And, there's good legislation in there, I think. I think the transfer limits are good, like you said. The insurance, all those things are good. I agree with Darryl. There needs to be some sort of cap. And I think even an individual cap, and I know it's hard legally to get away with that, but to say you can't pay
the pro teams do it.
Oh yeah.
The pro teams do it, and I think
exactly.
What happens to teams like Robert Morris, Marshall,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
American University. You just said, okay, we're only going to have these teams and not those teams, because what's going to happen is if they can't get no money, they ain't going to have scholarships for kids. That's know what I mean? So it's a slippery slope that they're going into, and they can't seem to get away from it.
Yep, and I think I don't know, Frank, is it in this? Yeah, the limited antitrust exemptions. I'm not sure. I don't know that that's a great idea or not. I think the NCAA would love that, so that they could actually have some authority without getting sued. But at the same time, I don't know that that's a good way to go, because they don't always do things right, and I think Coach Catlett knows that, and anybody that watches NCAA sports knows that. So I don't know that is a good part of it, but there's some good ideas in this legislation. I think it's a start. They got to get started somewhere somehow to get this under control, because it is just. And it seems so clear to me, and I've said this to you before, Frank. I've never had a job in my life, and I'm retired now, but I never had a job before in my life where I walked in the door and they said, "Here's $500,000. Hope you do a good job over the next couple of years." And I'm thinking, how can you pay these people before you even see them perform? And so why not put that money aside? Say, okay, this is yours if this happens, and sign those contracts. Let them have collective bargaining, and put a cap on it. I think all those ideas are good ideas, and hopefully this is the start to something a little more positive than what we've been seeing.
Well, one answer to what
Frank, if you don't think it's messed up, I have no idea. What do you think about the WNBA? I mean, that's a whole different thing going down the road, but out of control. And I never thought you'd ever see that in a league like that. And
now, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the big news now is that 2 former college basketball players said they're gonna apply to the draft next year.
2 men, yeah.
2 men.
2 men.
2 men.
NBA,
yeah. So, but by the way, that number 2, Greg, limited antitrust exemption. Most people know this. The reason why the NCAA wanted Charlie Baker to be their president is he was governor of Massachusetts. They wanted a politician to lobby in Washington, and to get that. They tried to get a complete antitrust exemption,
right,
which would give them complete control. This one's limited, but what it'll do, the NCAA is tired of spending all the time and money on suits. And so this would restrict the number of lawsuits. The other thing, though, that's not in this legislation, what it's silent about, is it doesn't make a statement on student athletes. It keeps the student athlete language and is silent on whether major college athletes are employees. It doesn't speak to that because it doesn't want to get into the labor laws.
Sure.
So, and there are a lot of Democrats in Congress who they're not going to get excited with that number 2, and they definitely want athletes labeled as employees because that's what they are. And the universities are against that for the most part. So, it's still a rough road. We'll see. Rough road.
Hopefully it's got to get better.
Yeah,
that's all I know. It's got to get better.
Well, guys, I'm looking at the clock. This has gone so fast, but
oh gosh,
wow. But maybe some closing comments, starting with Darryl and then Coach Catlett, and then we'll bid you adieu. And thank you so much for taking the time, Darryl.
Okay.
Coach, I appreciate you coming on. And every time I ask you to do something, you're there. You've always been a consistent man in my life. And, when I went through at Georgetown and you saw it in the book, that's all I asked for. You know what I mean? And, almost got in a fight one time. You don't know this, Coach. Mike King. I never knew him before. I never knew him until I saw him at one of Huggins' alumni situations. He called me. He said what did he say? What did he call me? I was your puppet or something like that. And I don't know him. So, but I remember him leaving and I had a scholarship to come. So maybe he's mad about that. but and I think, I've coached and I've been a player in college basketball, and I don't think players value coaches as they should. They get mad because they get yelled at. They get mad because of this. They get mad because they didn't make it to the NBA. They get mad because of this. But one thing you've always done is been consistent and with advice, especially with the advice. And anything I needed help with or a reference, you was always there. And I think that relationship now, it's been 40 years. And it's gotten stronger and bigger. I lost my grandfather. I lost him. And I remember this. I'm going to tell you a story. It's not in the book. Coach Catlett was in D.C. one day. My grandfather was still alive. So it had to be around 2004. And he's like, Prue, I'm in town. Let's hook up. Him and Miss Catlett was in town. Let's hook up for lunch or something. I said, my grandfather's sick. I don't think he's doing well. He said, what's the address? I'll meet you over there. I gave him the address. By the time I got there, he was there. Him and his wife was there. And my grandfather had his head on Coach's chest, giving him a hug. He was dying from cancer.
Yeah.
And that meant a lot because, that was 20 years ago since I played for him. And that's what it's about. It's not about, wins and losses. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But, I'm coming to see you. Oh, I remember your grandfather helped me get Darryl. He's not doing well. All right. This doesn't take, he's being a human. It's not about, what you call it, Frank? A transactional relationship. You know what I mean? It's about a person in a relationship. And it meant everything to my grandfather at that time. It meant everything to my grandmother. They used to write, well, I know it wasn't Coach Catlett. I know it was a niece. And when Miss Catlett used to write Christmas, every Christmas, they got cards until she passed away. Every birthday, they got cards. I mean, that shows you what kind of people that the Catletts were. Like I come to Morgantown. If I don't go to Kara's house, she's going to fight me. She's going to fuss at me. She's going to get mad at me. You know what I mean? So, it's family. And that's what West Virginia taught me was family. And the Catletts, I love them all.
Awesome.
Frank, you put me in a pretty tough situation because that's hard to follow right there. Because I can talk sports to you, talk basketball, and talk all that kind of stuff. But when you talk personal stuff, Darryl, that's very, very humbling to hear you say that. And it means a lot to me because I think God put us here to help other people. And you've always been just a great human being. And also, Prue was a superstar high school player and came and played and fit in here and took coaching very well. He could have come in here with a big head and said, we don't do it that way, or I'm not getting enough shots, or the guy didn't pick up that guy, wasn't my guy. He didn't do that. He came and was humble, played, and got his teammates to play with him. And I don't know of any of the teammates in my coaching career that didn't like Darryl from being a nice person. And so I really appreciate those comments, Prue. The other thing I would say, Frank and Greg and Darryl, is I grew up on Potato Hill in Hedgesville, West Virginia, the youngest of 13 kids, the only one to go to college. I owe everything, and I came here on scholarship. And I owe everything I have today to West Virginia University. They gave me a scholarship. I played, and I had no idea I would ever coach, had no idea I would ever come back as coach, but it sure was a thrill. And if I could, and the way we were treated was marvelous. If I had to do it all over again, Prue, I wouldn't change it. Thank goodness we lived through those days. They were great. We didn't have food sometimes or whatever it was, or however we had sacrifice. I didn't know that I was a baby. I thought we were rich. I didn't think I got all the hand-me-downs. I got all the brothers and sisters. But at the same time, just one thing I need to clear up, Frank, that wasn't clear in the book. And you did a marvelous job writing that book, by the way. Congratulations. And I'm still reading it. The excerpt. I read it some last night and today. But at this point, I wanted to talk to Prue about my playing days here. Yeah. So when we get a chance, I'd like to. Can we make an addendum to this book? Coach Catlett was unhappy he didn't get enough exposure for his playing days, Yeah. But Frank and Greg, great to be with you guys.
Oh, man.
Thank you for everything. We'll do this again sometime. This is the first one. This is the first one I've done in 25 years since I retired.
You did great. It was fantastic.
And so,
we are honored. And hey, Coach, I got to ask one question. The leather jacket. Is it still in the closet or is it in the home?
The leather trench jacket. The leather trench. It's not a leather jacket. It's a leather trench.
Oh, no, that's still in my closet somewhere, but that's amazing. Why did you ask that, Greg?
I don't know. I was just sitting here thinking back when you coached.
A little bit unusual, yeah. Well,
you.
I had some contracts of clothing contracts, and you wore what people gave you. And so when I wore the red and white shoes and red, white, and blue shoes in Cincinnati, or the white boots, or the leather jacket here, or the coat of many colors that the fans all put together like Dolly Parton. It was all done because they gave it to me, and it always came back to help. I thought WVU trying to repay some of the things they did for me as a player and as a person. And I met my wife here. I had my job here, had our kids here. I still live here. I'm going to die here. I hope not for a while, but it sure has been a great ride, and wouldn't change a thing. But thank you for having me on, Frank and Greg. Really appreciate it.
Fantastic. It's an honor for us. Thank you, Coach.
Absolutely.
Darryl,
Thanks, Darryl. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great.
See you, Greg.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Great ride for us. Thank you so much, guys. Wonderful.
Don't get much better than that, does it, Frank?
Let's go, Prue. Let's go. Let's go. There you go. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
It's always amazing when guys like Coach and Darryl talk about the great ride they had, but think about us as fans, the great ride we had because of them. And and the wonderful thing about it, that's why we have the show. We don't ever want to forget that, and we want to feature it over and over and over again. I was when Gale
real quick, Frank,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Gale's still with us. He's in the back room there. When he talked, it reminded, we did an interview with Willie Akers not long after Jerry passed away. And we had a photo, and I can't remember her name, and I was telling my wife about this, Kathy, the other day, a photo that I found. Jerry and Willie lived with an Italian lady in Morgantown. There you go. And you know what? I showed it, and you know what? He teared up, and I'm saying to myself, he teared up. Yeah. And then he said to his son who was there helping, he said, turn the screen. He had that photo in his living room. Yeah. Same photo. Never
Frank,
forget.
I shouldn't say this publicly, but Jerry West, Hot Rod Hundley, Rod Thorne, they would not be where they are today, although they're all three great, great human beings and great players and great people, without Miss Ann Donardi. They all lived with Ann Donardi at some point. And I'll tell you what, she was tough, made him go to class, corrected him, did this and did that. They all loved her so much. But Ann Donardi, she's the best. That's a great – I'm glad you brought that up. That's wonderful. Rest in peace, Miss Ann. She's a wonderful girl.
That's part of the legacy, man. Again, we stand on others. So thanks again, guys.
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to tell you a quick story.
Coach
Catlett was we were at the Buckwheat Festival in Kingwood. My oldest son, who's, of course, now college basketball coach at Winthrop, was with me. We were doing a show there. My wife and I had a little business, and Coach Catlett came through the crowd. And I saw him, of course, knew exactly who he was. So I introduced Coach Catlett to my son. I said, Sydney, this is Coach Catlett, the basketball coach at WVU. And Coach Catlett, how you doing, Sydney? Nice to meet you. And he said, are you the cat? So I said, I was just like, oh, no, here we go. Come on now. He said, are you the cat? He was about 4 years old at that time. But he's very nice to him. But yeah, what a great honor to get to talk to these guys. I'll tell you what, but Frank, these guys, that's back in my heyday. I was fresh out of college, just starting off coaching and watching these guys play, and had some great teams and just watching the coaching. And I do remember commentators talking about Coach Catlett and media and that sort of thing. And they always talked about and Darryl mentioned this, a tactician, or what a planner and what a great floor coach and all that sort of thing that he was. And it was just a fun time to watch and fun time to be a fan.
Oh, you're absolutely correct. And as I talk with Darryl about, and have obviously about Coach and talk with other players. I mean, I had a chance to talk with Dale Blaney and Stevie and Herbie. It's interesting, and actually, it's in the next book. And I write a section about the long-term impact that head coaches have on players. And the beautiful part of it is and we heard this about Bobby Bowden over and over again. You know, I remember several players telling me that they said this about Bobby. You know, when you think about your life after WVU, and what they told me was, I wanted Bobby Bowden to be proud of me. But if you flip that coin over, I don't know how many athletes I've talked to, that, oh my Lord, I mean, 30, 40 years later, the harm that they went through just doesn't go away. You know, it's real. And it's not one or two, it's a lot of players. A lot of players. So the good stories are worth repeating, and the bad stories, you just do not want those repeated at all in terms of learning. And Darryl, you know, was one of those good guys when he was a coach. So
you know, well, before we go any further, Coach Catlett looks very good. Like I say, he looks younger than I do. Look very, very good. But yeah, these guys, you know, when you look at you know, I know now today, you know, players are bigger and they're faster and stronger and all those things. But when you look back and you see a player like Darryl Prue, for example, you know, there's not too many better. I mean, we haven't had players that play like him.
No.
I know it's a different game, different era. Fantastic players, great coaches. And, you know, he mentioned some of those coaches in the Atlantic 10. And I can remember, you know, Chaney. John Chaney was one of the best known coaches in the country and was a great coach, you know. And, you know, I remember one game in particular, and I think I got this right. WVU was playing Temple at Morgantown, and I was there, went to the game, and I believe the kid's name was Holman Harley, I think. I wanted to ask Darryl before he got away, but Holman Harley, I think, hit a shot, tied it up, went into overtime. Ended up beating Temple in like triple overtime. But that place was packed, and everybody in the crowd had a face thing on, like a fan, but it was a face of Chaney. They were way in front of their faces. Just an electric atmosphere, you know. I thought, man, what a time it was. And I mean, you go to games now, they're exciting and all that, but not like then.
No, I mean, in the 80s, what you said earlier is true with Coach Nealon on the football side. Those 80s are still alive for a variety of people. And you know, it's just in the 90s too. It's we'll never see that again, I think, given the way that because money was important, you know, there's no question big money started coming into the game, but started actually in the 80s, you know, with the Magic Bird game. That was the one that turned the switch. We can make a lot of money here. You know, that game is still the most watched college basketball game in history. So that was 1979. So boy, this was a real treat. What a treat tonight was.
There was one other. I know we didn't have nearly long enough, but I wanted to ask Coach Catlett too about. I'd gone. It was before Darryl's time. I was in college, and had gone down to Morgantown to watch WVU and UNLV, and UNLV was number one at the time, and they were good. And Jerry Tarkanian was the coach, and WVU upset them. And that place was crazy. I mean, crazy. Ironically, many years later, I was at a coach's clinic down in Charlotte, and Jerry Tarkanian was one of the speakers. Well, that night we go down to the lounge, and Jerry Tarkanian and Jim Valvano are sitting at a table having a beer, talking. And back then I was young, didn't know any better. I just went and sat down with them, started talking to them. And, I told Jerry Tarkanian, I'm like, you know, this was right after Coach Catlett had quit or was getting ready to quit. It was in the early 2000s. And told him there might be an opening at WVU. He should look into it. But he said, you know, might not be a bad idea. He said, but the last time I was there, well, it didn't work out too good. And I said, was that 1980, whatever it was? He said, absolutely. He said, within their number one, he said, they whipped us. And he said, I have never, before or since, been in an atmosphere at a basketball game like that.
Yeah.
He said it was absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
loved every minute of it.
Yeah. No, those are great stories.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I'm looking at the clock. We got to pivot here. Our guest next week. Yeah. Isn't it amazing?
Fast, didn't it?
Boy, our guest next week, I don't know if Darren is I can't see you. There he is. He's going to put our guest for next week. We're going to go back. Now this is really interesting. In fact, I've just gotten to know Charlie, who was a wide receiver back then. And, one of the things that's interesting about Charlie is Charlie is from Berwick, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And there was a Berwick pipeline in the 80s and early 90s.
Yep.
Kurt Keel was the first one. He was a defensive lineman. Bo Orlando, we've had Bo on the show, safety, and then played in the NFL for a long time. Jake Kelchner, was a quarterback for the undefeated 93 team. He transferred from Notre Dame. And then Tom Ropsock, an offensive liner, and of course, offensive lineman. And then Charlie, 5, over about 12 years or so, came from Berwick. Bo is back as AD of his high school now. I think he may be the coach, but I'm not sure. But in talking with Charlie, he's going to be a guest next week. He's trying to organize a show. You and I talked about this, that all those guys, going to try to get all those guys in the same room. It's going to drive Darren nuts. But that would be great, because he said these guys are out of their mind. And so he said,
that would be a treat.
Oh, yeah. So we'll see if we can do that. So Charlie will be with us next week. We're looking forward to that. Very extroverted, very much in the know, very much what's happening now. He'll talk about the 26 Mountaineers. We'll talk more about the 26 Mountaineers next week. We didn't have a chance, but things are looking good. We know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Frank, as always, pleasure. It's a fantastic show. I want to thank Mark Parsons again for all the hard work that he does, Darren behind the scenes for the work that he does. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in to the Mountaineer Locker Room then and there here on the New River Network, Voice College Football. We appreciate everybody for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next Wednesday evening. So hope you'll join us then for all these guys I mentioned. And thanks to Darryl Prue, by the way, as well, for helping us get Coach Catlett settled in and on the show. What a blast that was. So thank you again for watching, and we will talk to you again next Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.